Hey, welcome to the Ready to Lose podcast, where we look at what's going on in our brains to create the health and weight loss that we want. My name's Billy Blake, and I'm a certified life and weight loss coach determined to help women love themselves all the way to their goal. It's time to start losing weight in a way that actually feels like us and creating that healthy life that we love showing up for every single day. So tell me, are you ready to lose? Let's go. Okay, hi. Welcome back to the Ready to Lose podcast. I'm Billy Blake, weight loss coach, life coach, and today is the last day of 2020. Wow. I'm kind of thinking I wasn't even sure if we would make it through. I knew we would make it through, but at the start of last year, I had no idea that this is what the year would end up looking like. And so, yeah, I think this episode might be a little more rambly and conversational than other podcast episodes that I have recorded. Because yeah, this is the last day of 2020 and a lot of us are excited to see it go. But most likely, for you, for me, for a lot of us, like I said, this year didn't end up going the way that you thought it would. So today I wanted to give a little recap on my 2020 experience and then tell you a few of the lessons I've learned, my own breakthroughs and failures, as well as the breakthroughs some of my clients are having. And then we're going to go into a little bit of how we can bring these lessons into 2021. Before I get into this, before I get into what I created in 2020, I just want to say that making it through 2020 is huge in itself. The whole world went through a crisis at the same time. Usually we each have our own emergencies and crises. Not exactly sure how to say it, but we have our own things that come up in our lives. But to have this level of a crisis experienced on this global level was a whole new experience for a lot of us. It was new for me, at least in my lifetime. So just to make it through is something to be celebrated. But I also want to suggest going back and actually looking at what you're proud of yourself for in 2020. Because right now, I think this is true for every year, but right now, even in my own brain, I'm okay, what's next? What do I need to do next? How can I start creating more in 2021? And even the things I've created this year, my brain isn't even seeing them. It's what are you talking about? We didn't do anything. We just barely made it through. On to the next, right? So taking time to look back and see what you're proud of is a really important thing to do this year, because it could be proud of how you showed up. You might be proud that you overcame certain obstacles. You might be proud of just little things too. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or extreme. It's just what did you do this year and how have you changed and how are you stronger than January of 2020? And like I said, I had to do this before I could actually really see what I had created, because like I mentioned before too, our brains are just really good at looking for problems or how we aren't doing enough or how we are doing it wrong or why, all the reasons that we haven't been able to do it before. Our brain's really good at collecting all of that stuff. And it makes sense. It's a survival mechanism by our brain. But just remember, nothing's gone wrong. That's just how it works. But still take time to go back and actively look for all the things that you've done this year, because you have achieved something. You are stronger, wiser, more capable than you were in January. And we got to practice seeing that change in ourselves, right? I just know that's already true for you, that you are a stronger person than at the start of 2020 because you went through it, right? And every year, I just like to believe that we get better and better anyway, even if we have failures. It's just you keep learning from them and then you just become more knowledgeable, wiser, more capable of experiencing failure and overcoming obstacles and all of that. So yeah, take time to do that first. So like I said, before I did this, I was thinking how I wasn't there yet, or how I didn't create enough, or how I hadn't created what I wanted, or how I wasn't at my goal weight, and I really didn't see what I had created because my brain was just doing its normal thing, and it just thought this was the norm and that it was no big deal. So just remember that everything you create is a big deal. So here's what I created in 2020. This podcast, that's the first thing I want to start with, is I created the Ready to Lose podcast, and all of you listening helped me along this journey, and I'm so freaking grateful. Like at this point, podcasting feels pretty normal. It's like pretty normal for me to have a new episode up every week. Maybe, maybe in 2021 I want to be more punctual with my podcast episodes, but I usually have one up every week. I've done like holiday specials, so it does feel kind of normal now, which is crazy because I didn't start this podcast, even this journey, until June. Like I didn't even decide that it was actually something I wanted to do until May. And so it's only been the second half of this year, but it's been such a fun way to help more women lose weight, and men too. I have men messaging me about how the episodes have helped them. So it's just so cool that you are connecting with this message and that it's helping you. And so I just want to thank you for being a part of this journey, and also the messages of how it's helping you and ideas for like different episodes you'd like to see, because I really feel like this has helped so many people, and it's really because of you sharing it with people and also telling me what you want to hear, so I can really dial in and make a message that's going to help you lose weight and create the health you want. So yeah, my first one is this podcast because it has just been so crazy and such a big change for me, for you, and for my clients too. It's been so powerful. The second thing that I created in 2020 was a wedding during a pandemic. And this felt so big this year. Like this consumed 99% of my life, I felt like, and 99% of my thoughts, and all my drama came up, and it really just consumed most of 2020 for me, and I loved it. But I'm gonna be open with you. I don't think I handled this goal gracefully. I don't think I handled it with confidence or fearlessness. I've mentioned it in past podcast episodes, but planning a wedding was the hardest thing I've ever done. Not the actual actions, but all of the crap that it brought up for me, like all the self-doubt, inadequacy, comparison, people-pleasing. All of that came up for me during the wedding planning process, and it was not comfortable. It was not easy. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Literally, it's like you think that would have like moved, like I got coached on it so much, but literally up until 2 weeks before our wedding, I was like crying about it every day almost. It started getting worse as I got closer because there was a lot of, like I said, that self-doubt and inadequacy that I didn't address, and I got to work through it and have the most amazing wedding day. Even though I was beating myself up and I got to look at that self-talk in a new way, like even though it was all this stress, all this discomfort for me, it ended up being the most perfect day, and it was just all about love and beauty and joy and intimacy and being with close loved ones, and of course being with Mike and getting to marry him. So this was a major breakthrough for me, and I am very proud of it, super proud of it. Like it was a huge shift in my relationship with Mike, my relationship with my family and friends, but also like the biggest relationship that it really forced me to work on was my relationship with myself. Because like I said, all that self-doubt, I had to be there for myself and really learn to have my own back with any decisions I made for the wedding, and it ended up being perfect. The third thing that I created was, I won't say mastered yet, but I have greatly improved my time management with my job, and then also as a coach working with my clients, and then also just in my personal life, like being able to create time for the things that I want to do. I used to consistently hand in paperwork late, or if it wasn't late, it was like, if it was due on a Friday, I would be handing that in like the last minute of that Friday. So I was very late with a lot of my paperwork all the time, and now I'm someone who consistently hands it in early, and it's not as stressful and like rushed feeling and urgent for me. Like I said though, I'm not perfect with this, but I'm really proud of the growth I've made with this, and it's something where I used to just feel like there was a huge lack of time, and now I feel like I really do have enough time in my life, and also being able to prioritize what I want to put my time towards. And I'm just really proud that I've created that, but it's also something that's been really important to me. And I know it's important to a lot of people, like just feeling like there's that lack of time. So being able to work through that a little more, crazy, awesome. The fourth thing, I think this is number 4, the fourth thing that I am so proud of myself for in 2020, and I'm proud of my clients for, is coaching. Like a little over a year ago now, literally just a little over a year. It feels like I've been doing this my whole life, but it's just been a little over a year. I got certified as a life and weight loss coach. And when I graduated from my program, I actually had no clue what I wanted to coach people on. I was like, I just knew that those concepts had changed my life, and they had changed my life through being able to lose my weight, being able to change my relationship with Mike, being able to be happier at my job because I was literally crying every day. So I knew these concepts and coaching like was life-changing for me, and I knew I wanted to help other people do the same. But I didn't know what to focus on. So I decided that just like that was my journey for me, I decided to focus on weight loss for the women I work with. And through that, like I coach them on weight loss and being able to lose weight, but really how our brain works in one area is how it works in so many other areas. So being able to then help them change the rest of their life, but starting with that weight loss, something they could see, something they could work towards, something they felt stuck with for so long. And so over the last year, I've coached so many wonderful ladies and helped them create the weight loss that they want. And I'm so proud of myself for this, because it's one thing to be able to look at myself and apply it to myself and know that it works for me, but then to be able to help other women apply it for them and create weight loss in a way that feels like them, not just like what, here, just do what I did. No, it's like creating a lifestyle that is so them. Being able to do that for women, so amazing. And I feel like I've gotten so much better at that over the last year. And my clients have created so many results for themselves, and I'm so proud of them for that. Because it's not just, like, it is weight loss, they're losing weight, but it's also like having family members straight up tell them that they are thinking and acting and talking so much differently than they ever thought they would before. Like even, like one of my clients earlier this year, she was telling me how she went to a cafe and she ordered cake with a client. I think I've talked about this example before, but she was like hanging out with a friend and they got cake and coffee together, and she just naturally stopped eating the cake while she was talking and spending time with her friend. And even her friend was like, I was wondering if you were gonna keep eating that, like you just naturally stopped. She didn't even notice she did that. That's how much she had worked on it, and just became like who she was, to eat when she's hungry, stop when she's satisfied. Even with cake, it's possible. So her friend noticed it, her family started noticing it. Even one of my clients recently, she was telling me like over the holidays, she's been able to really be focused on the experience and enjoy the food she wants, but not have it be something where she's going to these extremes. And like her mom's like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what foods do you have to cut out? Are you sure you can eat that? And she's like, yeah, I can eat anything. Like, it's just, I'm changing how I think about myself and how I think about food, and really not thinking about it as much. I'm someone who does what I say I'm gonna do. So it's something where like their family is noticing, and of course they're just showing up with more confidence in their life, not because they lost weight, but because they're believing in themselves more. And a lot of what we worked on too is like having compassion for themselves and trust in themselves, and that self-love, like having these actions all come from a place of like, I love myself. That's the biggest work we're doing. So then if you can love yourself through losing weight in 2020, or losing weight at all, you can love yourself through other situations too. Any obstacles that come up, anything that seems tough, and any failures that come up too. Very, very proud of them. And like I said, that really carries over into everything else. So I'm so grateful for the amazing women I've gotten to coach, and like all the work they've done, like that they keep showing up and they keep getting coached, and they bring the good, the bad, the ugly, like all of that to our sessions, so I can really help them make the changes. Like getting okay with failure and just bringing up anything that's not comfy, not enjoyable about their weight loss journey, and getting coached on it. That's what's allowed them to create such growth and progress for them. So that is a big one. The last thing that I wanted to mention during this podcast that we created, and I've talked about it a little bit, but the last thing that we created in 2020 was Mike and I bought a house. So our closing date is at the end of January, so I don't know if it really technically counts for 2020 or 2021, but it has been something that has been a long time coming. Like it's been on my brain since we started really looking last Christmas, but it's been on my brain before that, because I love our apartment. It's cute and tiny, and I've worked on a lot of love for our apartment, being quarantined here for a lot of the year. So a house has been something that like, I'm like, that's what we want to do next. Like even if we, I don't know, if Mike didn't propose, I feel like a house would have been in the cards for this year. It was just another huge growing experience for Mike and I as individuals, I think anyway, at least for myself. And then also for us as a couple, because it was like getting an idea of what we both wanted and compromising and being able to agree on how much we wanted to spend and what what we wanted, like where even we wanted to be, because it was like we really wanted different things in a house, or we had different focuses on what we wanted. And so to be able to compromise and come up with a vision together has been really powerful. And it's a big learning process. Like I feel like already we've had some fails with the house buying process, but we never bought a house before. Kind of like I'd never planned a wedding before. I had all these expectations that I would be doing it perfectly. No, it's not like you start your, I think I've mentioned this before too, but it's not like you start your first year in college, you know, you're going for a certain degree and you don't expect to be an expert for your first classes, for your first year. No, you're learning. So that's kind of been true for this house hunting process too. And I'm still learning, but really something I learned through this process, like I wasn't even sure if we'd be able to get a house because we were trying to do both. I was really trying to do both at the start of 2020. I was like, house and a wedding. We're gonna do it all, and I wanna do it all. For the first 3 months of 2020, I was really trying to do everything, and by focusing on everything, I was creating nothing. Like I didn't create any progress with wedding planning, any progress with house hunting, and really what this has taught me is to constrain my focus to one thing at a time. So when I did let go of the house hunting and I was like, okay, maybe that's a 2021 project, and we were able to focus on the wedding. One, I grew so much through that, but by waiting to focus on house hunting until after the wedding, which is really what we did, it was so much easier, so much clearer, so much, there's just so much more clarity on what we had to do next, like how we overcame obstacles for house hunting once that was our primary focus. So really that was like a huge lesson through the house hunting, is that constraining focus actually helps you get there faster. Sometimes it can feel like, oh, I need to do everything now so I can get everything faster, but really focusing on everything creates less progress in everything. Like you don't really progress with anything if you're focusing on everything. So hope that a lot of anything, everything's in that. So being able to focus on the wedding planning and then move on to the next thing, and that really does work. That was proved to me through the house hunting process. So I realized that I created a lot more than I ever thought was possible for 2020. And I think a huge reason why was because I was able to manage my mind throughout the year with the pandemic. Not on my own, I might add. I got a lot of coaching, but even just talking about all the things I worked on, my brain was very scared and very doubtful and very confused basically the whole year. And I got coached a lot. Like I said, I got coached once a week by my coach. I kept investing in that coaching. And then I also am part of a group coaching program. So I was like, please coach me as many times as possible. And then on top of that, taking time each day to work on my own mind management and my own breakthroughs. And I think even just like talking about them on the podcast, but also on Instagram really helps me too, because it's like, oh yeah, that's how this worked out. That's how I've grown through this. Yeah, it's just been a lot of self-mind management and getting coached on it too, like just all around mind management. So that's kind of what happened in 2020. And I kind of learned some lessons, and I think some of them might be really helpful for moving into 2021. So like I said before, 2020 wasn't ideal, but you are so much stronger for making it through this year. And we get to take that strength into 2021. So just remind yourself that when like things come up in 2021, because they will, right? But you were stronger. You made it through this year. You made it through like things that none of us have had to experience before in our lifetime, and we all made it through. And maybe that came with some losses and some learning and a lot of difficulty probably, but you are so much stronger for making it through this year. So that's the first thing. It's like you are so strong for making it through, and you get to take that with you. You get to keep that strength going into 2021. And then the second thing that I learned in 2020 that we get to take to 2021 might be an unpopular opinion. So, you know, it's okay if you don't agree, but this is something that I think is really important to remember too, is that the pandemic or just life being crazy or weird or having obstacles, like that isn't what keeps us from creating the life we want. It's not the pandemic. It's not people acting crazy. It's not difference of opinions with other people. It's not even the president. Like that's not what keeps us from reaching our goal. And I know this is true because we've all been going through the same thing, and so many people in my life have been experiencing it differently. So like I mentioned before on the podcast, one of my friends was telling me how it is so hard to lose weight during the pandemic, like during quarantine, because the gyms are closed and because he was home in the kitchen. And so like he was saying how it's so hard. And then I've also had clients though who have told me, they're like, oh, it's been so much easier because I'm not tempted, not tempted, but it's like I'm not going out and eating, and I'm not like going out for dinners or going out for drinks or anything like that, or at work where people are bringing in donuts or bagels. So I'm not doing those things. So it's been easier because I'm at home and I control the environment. And really neither is easier. It's just what we think about it. And then, like I said, even then, like some of my clients have told me how it's easier during quarantine to lose weight. And then some of the clients I've just started working with have told me how this year has been so hard because of the pandemic, and it's been hard for them to lose weight. They've been gaining weight this year because of the pandemic. So it's not the pandemic though. It's just like what we are thinking about it, how we're processing it, what we're doing with our emotions that come up during it. And that's what actually creates our results, which is an awesome thing. Because what I want to offer to you is that the pandemic isn't creating those obstacles in your life. Fear is. And that's normal and that's okay. And our brains are designed to look for scary things and ways we might die, and how we've been like, just how we've been able to survive so far, and relying on that versus like creating something different and new. What makes this so awesome is that we can learn to manage that and overcome those obstacles and also any fear that your brain is throwing your way. And then the last thing I learned this year that I've heard so many times, but it really became clear this year, especially with the wedding planning process, is to have your goal in mind, like have that idea of what your goal looks like and what you want to create, but be flexible about how you're doing it. So for example, with the wedding, Mike and I had this goal of getting married this year. We decided, like, especially when we were doing the house hunting and the wedding, we decided, we're like, what do we want to focus on? And we decided on the wedding. Our goal was to get married this year. So when the pandemic hit, and then eventually our venue was like, hey, you got to plan 3 different scenarios, because maybe you're going to have your wedding on your wedding day. Maybe you're going to have 50 people. Maybe it'll just be the 2 of you. Maybe, like, all these different scenarios, we had to plan them out ahead of time. So we had to go through that. We also had to then reduce our number to 50 people. And then that list even changed like 20 more times as people said no, because maybe they didn't feel comfortable, or maybe they couldn't make it into town or whatever. When all those things were happening, when all that was happening, we just kept saying to ourselves, we kept reminding ourselves, we want to get married this year. So when dancing was then off the table, we're like, okay, it's going to be a formal dinner. Do we want to do that? Do we not? Like, we want to get married this year. That was like our goal. So we got flexible about like what that would look like, and really just had our own backs with that decision that that was our goal. That's what we wanted to create, but it looked totally different than we envisioned at the start of 2020. Like, we thought we'd have 180 people on our list, then to 50 people. We thought we'd be dancing. No dancing. We thought we'd be able to take, even like, I had to change the timeline towards the end because I thought we'd be able to take photos inside without masks on with our wedding party and our family, but we couldn't because of the regulations. So then changing that whole timeline to going to a park and really just being flexible with how it all looked, and still loving how it looked, loving my decisions throughout it, but being flexible about what the process looked like. And when something came up, just shifting and remembering, oh yeah, we want to get married, so let's shift this a little bit and move towards that goal. I think that's really true with weight loss too, and I know that's true actually. I know that's true for weight loss, because you might try, like, I have my clients create a protocol list of foods that they want to eat from, and you're like, wait, maybe you try it out for 2 weeks, and you're like, I don't like following this. I need to change it. And you might think like, oh, I want to cut out carbs. Like, maybe that's what your thing is, and you're like, I want to cut out carbs, but then you realize like your family likes eating carbs, you like cooking, you don't want to be cooking different meals, you like carbs. And so it's like, okay, maybe that's not the way. How do I envision my future self eating and living, and how can I figure that out now? Maybe it doesn't look exactly like I thought it would, or maybe I don't know what it would look like right now. I get to try things and figure it out. Same with movement. You're like, okay, I want to be a runner. And then you start running and you're like, yeah, I really don't like this. Maybe you try other things too. And eventually you figure out what you really enjoy, and you can fill in the missing pieces of that future picture. Like, you get to lean on future you, and it's like, what is she doing? She reaches her goal. She knows she's going to get there, and have that in mind. But along the way, when you're learning, just being flexible, just being like, oh yeah, I'm losing weight. That's my goal. oh yeah, I'm figuring out my hunger cues. That's my goal. And getting to focus on that and remembering that no matter what obstacles come up, and then like learning and navigating throughout that. An example of this is one of my clients she wanted to move her body more. She wanted to be someone who moved every day. And so she started like dancing every morning. She would wake up and like when she was getting ready, she would like have this like dance party kind of thing. And I love that idea, but it was something that brought her joy, but she also had to be open to the discomfort and doubt that dancing and doing something she enjoyed wouldn't be good enough or hard enough or extreme enough to create weight loss. Like she had to get over that idea that it's not enough. But that happened from being open and flexible about like, what does this look like for me? Okay, let me try this. Let me see how this goes. Oh, it's something that I really enjoy. Yeah, I can see myself doing this forever. So keep your goal and future self in mind, but allow the flexibility and openness that will allow you to figure out how to get there no matter what obstacles come up or what else might get in your way. I hope 2021 involves less quarantine and more time with family and more love. We can't know what will happen, but either way, you don't need to wait for life to be perfect and smooth and easy to create the weight loss and the health and the self-love that you want. It's possible for you now, and really I believe it needs to happen now more than ever before. For me, for you, and my clients, we need to like start working through this stuff now. Now is the best time to work on your brain and your mindset and your ability to overcome obstacles and create what you want. Because 2021, I am hoping it is like very different than 2020, but we don't know what life's gonna bring. Maybe the pandemic's over, the vaccine, everyone's getting it, it's working out, but maybe something else comes up in your life. That's always a possibility. Even when I was planning the wedding, my coach was always telling me, she's like, listen, even if the pandemic didn't happen, your venue could have burned down the day before your wedding, okay? And everyone's like, that's less likely to happen, but like, I don't know, we never know what the future holds. But we can learn to manage our mind throughout it and create what we want anyway. To celebrate 2021 and really create the self-love and appreciation going into the new year, I'm offering a 3-week challenge during the month of January. It's going to be a self-love challenge, so you'll have an activity and journal prompts to reach for each day. I'll be putting videos in there so you get little mindset tips each week, and by the end of the month, you will have such a better awareness of what's holding you back and how to start believing in yourself more. And this will create action and momentum for creating what you want in 2021. And it'll be coming from a place of like self-love and appreciation for you and respect for you and your body, so it doesn't feel like restriction and deprivation and like that white knuckling feeling, because that's what we don't want that in 2021. We just don't. So if you're interested in this challenge, make sure you're signed up for emails, though. There'll be a link to my website and there you can sign up for emails. And if you are so excited for 2021, I know I always get excited about this time of year where I'm like creating goals and visions for the next year. Let me know what you're gonna be working on. Let me know what that vision is for you. You can always message me on Instagram or you can email me if you want to, but I'd love to hear what you guys are gonna create this year. It's just so fun dreaming and thinking about what's possible. And I really think this challenge group is going to help you do that even better. I'm so excited to see you in the challenge group. It's 100% free, and I'm excited to help you create the health and self-love and weight loss that you want this year. You've totally got this, and I will talk to you in the new year. Bye!